All right, mates, welcome back to the channel. JL Scott Fishing and Eats. Good morning, good morning. Do a little quick hot take this morning, just because more information has been coming in the last, 72 hours or so, really, but since the weekend. But we got Bass Nation here on the Potomac River today, heading out to Smallwood later on this afternoon, drop off some baits. I think that tournament kicks off officially Thursday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we're going to do a little hot take today on something that I just find completely just unfathomable. I just don't get it. So help me understand what the hell is going on, especially in the kayak fishing community with all these bans. Just DQs I kind of understand. For those of you who are not familiar, DQ is a disqualification because maybe you didn't wear your PFD in your kayak fishing. Okay? Some people don't think that that's a big deal. Some people think that that rule is stupid. Okay? They do. But these trails have liability insurance and they carry all this stuff. I know a lot of people are out there kayak fishing. I'll see them. Saw them a whole bunch of people last week kayaking on the upper Potomac. In Maryland, you don't have to wear a freaking PFD. You know what I mean? After, I think, March 15th or something. When the water levels are this low and stuff like that, And so a lot of people have a problem with that. But I don't. It is what it is, okay? Trails can make up their own rules, right? But that's a DQ, okay? You did something wrong, or they DQ a fish because of your hand placement, or any kind of fundamental DQ. All DQ is you just get disqualified, right? It happens, okay? More than you think. And they go unnoticed, right? They go unnoticed. Unless it's a Keith Pouchet being disqualified for running this boat over land, and you know what happens. Look at all the views. Look at all the comments. Everybody's got an opinion. Now, you don't have to be a Bass Elite angler or a Bass Open angler to have an opinion, right? What if Bass and MLF and the National Professional Fishing League and KBF and Hobie and Bassmaster Kayak and all that said, hey, we don't want any engagement. We don't want anyone to have any opinions on what we do. So we don't want any engagement. Think that'll ever happen? No. Engagement is how they profit on social media and metrics for their sponsors. Why is a sponsor sponsoring a trail? A sponsor is sponsoring a trail in hopes of generating revenue from said relationship and partnership. Now, when a trail series or an event, doesn't have to be a trail series, it could just be a single event. Take the walleye incident in Ohio. You think the sponsors of that event were happy of all the media coverage that was covered when those walleye cheaters got arrested and go to court and all of that? The Loot Walleye Trail, right? Do you think the sponsors were happy? There are times when I know when people say all news is good news, any press is good press. Okay, there are people who believe that. But at the end of the day, it's a little bit different in the business community. Okay? So we'll see what happens with that going forward in terms of the walleye trail. Because there's a level of these trail series of integrity. Okay? Now, I know I take a lot of heat on people like, why do you care? Why do you care? Why do you talk about you don't fish in those series? I don't fish in bass. I'm not a Bass Elite angler. I'm not in MLF. I'm not in the NFL. I'm not in Major League Baseball. I'm not in the MLS. Right? I'm not in any are you? Do you have opinions on sports? Do you have opinions on stuff? Do we all kind of beat our chest about our teams and all that? Yeah, we do. That's called engagement. And that's what these sports series want. But there are individuals out there who don't want any scrutiny for the decisions that they make. And those are the ones you really need to keep your eye on. Because the folks that are transparent, let me look at Bass. Bass DQ Drew Gregory last year at Pickwick, and there was a process, a review, it was transparent. Took a little bit longer probably than people thought it would, or wanted it to, but it was pretty transparent. May not have liked the decision or the opinion of the 3-person review, but at least it was independent, kind of quasi-independent, okay? Not truly independent, because it was Bass and a Bass employee, a Bass angler, but, not a perfect world. Things are very, very rarely perfect, okay? But everybody still had their opinion, right? Banning is something that's in a totally another level, okay? banning, to me, should only be reserved for one or two scenarios. And chime in the comments if you think I'm completely just lost it. Okay? That I completely got it. I've been told I've gotten this whole thing wrong. I get told. That's all I get told. I don't get told how I've gotten the ban wrong. Okay? Like, I get messages on my Facebook. And look, anyone can comment on my Facebook page. It's a public page. But usually the people that come on that are all negative and always want to start shit and always want to, like, throw bombs and throw threats out and do all this stuff aren't really followers of the channel. I have 3,200 legitimate followers on Facebook, and 99% of them are genuine people who have integrity and are nice and are very rarely negative about anything that I say or I do, because they generally accept that I cover a lot more stuff than just these series. Now, these people who are part of these series in the Northeast, for example, lately, I mean, they think all I ever do is talk about them, when in reality, it's not even remotely. I think, 1,800 videos on YouTube. One or two are about them, okay? I mean, and on Facebook. I mean, thousands of posts there are on Facebook. And how many of them? But they make it out to be more than it really is. Because they're defensive. And what do they have to be defensive about? That's the bigger question is, again, transparency solves everything. Okay? You may not like the outcome. I may not like the outcome of a decision that's made. Okay? And you may not like the outcome of a decision that's made for one of our popular anglers, or in your local trail, or on KBF decisions. But if it's transparent and you see how they got to the decision that they got to, you can accept it, right? But when they're shrouded in secrecy, right, like with the KFL, and you didn't know who the 9-member secret board or committee was who voted to ban the Lone Star Bandits, for example, last year. I got a lot of heat over that crap, that coverage. But I also gained a lot of viewers over it, because it was a great story, right? No, but they didn't want to. They didn't want to stand by their ban, so the head of the KFL goes on a live stream and says, "Blah blah blah, ban the ban the ban." Of course, a lot of stuff on that live stream was total crap and bullshit, and was totally debunked weeks later by channels like mine who dug down deeper to the facts. But again, okay. No one really knew who the 9 people were, except for the 9, right? And then occasionally some people would kind of send information out, now that KFL is folded, we know who the 9 are, because now everybody's leaked everything out, right? And that's just the way it is, human nature, right? Nobody really gives a shit about anything until it happens to them, until it shows up on their doorstep. That's what I try to prevent. Look, if you want to fish any trail that you want to fish in the continental United States, go for it. Look, go for it. I just want you to have all the information ahead of time so you can make a decision, okay? Right? You can do your own due diligence as to whether or not you want to give a trail $150 of your hard-earned money, okay, and fish it, given the backdrop of events that trail has had in its history. That is what it's about, okay? And if a trail isn't transparent about banishment, banning is when they basically tell someone, you can never, ever fish any of our events again. Now, do these trails have that right to do that? Sure. They can do whatever they want. That's not the question. The question is not whether or not they can ban someone, okay? The question is whether or not they should. Whether or not it's just good business. Whether or not it's proper, And then to run away from exactly why. Someone said let me give you an example. A ban of how an angler can be banned. Okay? Now, a trail in the Northeast, and I want to throw this out to everyone. If you're watching this video and you are affiliated with a KBF Ambassador Club trail that follows KBF rules, Kayak Bass Fishing rules, KBF has a whole bunch of stated rules, right? You need to be real, real careful. Okay? Because when you take those rules and you juxtapose them onto your trail and you adopt KBF rules, those are the rules you have to abide by. Okay? Now, some trails take those rules, juxtapose them, and then they make some kind of tweaks. Like, for example, fishing periods. That's a new one this year. because KBF changed its off-limits period. So a lot of Ambassador Club trails have kind of waived that part of the rule in their rules, okay? Now, if you've been following what's been happening in the Northeast for the last few months, the drama that's been created over BANS, okay? One of the rules used to ban an angler from not just one trail, okay, but from two now, we've learned, okay, in the Northeast, because they're run by the same people. One's more of a club trail, the other one's more of a regional trail, which is a phenomenal trail. Do not get me wrong. I have that trail fishes phenomenal events and fisheries, mainly smallmouth fisheries in the Northeast. And the anglers that fish that event are quality anglers, and 99% of them are stand-up guys. They are, okay? This is not a reflection on the angler. Just like in the KFL, 248 anglers got the shaft, okay? Because in my opinion, of a few people, okay? And their actions behind the scenes that resulted in, finally, the founder and CEO or sheriff of the KFL decided to just ghost them, okay? So here's an amendment. Okay, KBF Rule 16 is about conduct, okay? That's conduct. How sportsmanship, right? Competitors participating in any event must observe the applicable rules for the competition and must conduct themselves at all times during the competition or otherwise. That's life, folks. Or otherwise, meaning in your entire life, okay? All right? In a manner that reflects favorably on the sport of kayak fishing. Elite. Okay? Its members, officers, and representatives, tournaments, or sponsors. Competitors are expected to follow high standards of sportsmanship, courtesy, integrity, safety, and conservation in support of the sport kayak bass fishing, especially when in the vicinity of non-competitors. Okay, kind of like the boat ramp, whatever. You know, you're in there, in the marina, whatever like that. There's people walking around, there's kids walking around. You can't be like going off like a crazy man, you know, spouting off curse words and yelling at someone or physically hitting somebody or assault or all that good mess. Like, I think we kind of get it, right? Although we've seen that on other trails. And those anglers haven't been banned. Integrity, safety, conservation, the vicinity of competitors or who may be or be side eligible water, like I said. Here's one for you. Here's the commie clause, okay? It's a commie clause. During or outside competition, any competitor who violates these principles intentionally violates rules or regulations, attempts to commit fraud, or behaves in ways that reflect unfavorably upon members, officers, or representatives, tournaments, or sponsors, or its efforts to promote fisheries, conservation, clean waters, or courtesy may forfeit competition's winnings, face suspension from competitions, be permanently banned from competitions, or a combination thereof appropriate. Okay? So what are the levels? What are the distinctions? What warrants a suspension versus a ban? You don't know. Because it's subjective. Subjective. If you hit somebody at the dock, okay, it's going to be perceived differently than if I hit somebody at the dock because I may be part of a leadership team of that trail. Or maybe I'm one of the top anglers on the trail and you're not, and I hit somebody, it's not perceived the same way as if you do. It's subjective, meaning we're not going to set the parameters so then we can subjectively apply our rules however which way we want to apply them. So they can selectively refuse to apply the same rule for the same offense, which is what has happened in the Northeast. It has. Everybody knows it. This is not news, okay? Everybody saw the Facebook posts. Like, they may have been deleted, but people screenshot them, okay? Like, you can't take that stuff away. It's like I tell people on my Facebook page, you can post whatever you want. I'm not going to block you. I'm not going to ban you from my page. I'm not going to block you. But just understand that if you post something, you got to own it. If I say something in a video or a post, I got to own it. If I'm right, I'm wrong, right? And so when you ban somebody, you better have your I's dotted and your T's crossed. But what happened in the instance in the Northeast is this is the rule that was used, okay? It's a KBF rule, right? And they added on a little bit to it, tweaked the language a little bit, okay? Now there's been some reportedness that this is all new in terms of the new whatever, I don't know. But here's the problem that this trail faces, like in terms of other people's perception. And they may not care, and that's fine. They don't have to care what I think. Like I'm not asking anyone, I'm not asking them to care what I think. I'm providing observations based on what I've received from other anglers in our community, in our region, about this. And see, they have a vested interest. I don't. And this is what those people don't understand, is they understand that they think that everything, no one really cares about what Jay Scott thinks, okay? Because, our people are still fishing. Right. It's your people who are fishing who are sending the information, okay? And I don't blame them for not putting in stuff on their personal page or commenting on my page or making a video or making a TikTok about the sham, because they know what's going to happen to them. This conduct clause is going to be used against them, and then they can't fish their favorite Cayuga, their favorite Winnipesaukee, their favorite Lake Champlain, their favorite Connecticut River, okay? They're not, I don't blame them at all. And in fact, when people reach out to me, I tell them, listen, don't get involved. I'll take the heat. Okay? I'm a bullet stopper. I'll take the heat. Okay? Used to being a bullet stopper in the military, I'll be a bullet stopper. I don't care. Because I'm not fit. They can't ban me. They can't keep me from doing what I want to do. Okay? The people that I'm close with, where I fish, those people know me. I've got great relationships with them. There's no issue, okay? I'm out on the water 3-4 times a week. There's no issue. I talk to people at the ramps who know me. There's no issue, okay? These people have issue with me because I'm exposing the hypocrisy and the lack of transparency in decisions that they made in which they've harmed another angler in our community. And they've done it intentionally. And they've used KBF rules to skirt, really, reality. Because what they haven't done, mates, is that is Rule 16. But what they haven't disclosed is, okay, you are using KBF rules. So under KBF rules, if you click on KBF rules on their event page, their governing rules, KBF's competition standard, okay, it lists everything. Now, competitor conduct was Rule 16 for KBF, which that series in the Northeast amended a little bit, okay? Changed some language a little bit. But they don't talk about Rule 17. Rule 17 is disputes and appeals. So under their own registration and their own trail post on Fishing Chaos, they state they're using Kayak Bass Fishing rules. And then they state, in addition to the Kayak Bass Fishing rules, they have added some other rules and rule changes. Well, part of the KBF rules is 17 disputes and appeals for an angler. They never gave the angler an opportunity to dispute or appeal anything. They violated their own rules. And any attorney, trust me, because I talk to attorneys almost every week, okay? Any attorney will shred them if that angler wants to take them to court. Now, does anyone really want to go through the court battle and having to pay attorney's fees and having to do all that? It really all depends on the angler. If it was me, I would do it. Because they defamed the angler publicly on a podcast. They did. They did. Like, and never apologized. Like, anyone any third party who looks at that podcast knows that's defamation, if not slander. Okay? Doesn't look good. right? And if it's harmed you financially, say because of that instance, because you got banned from not one but two trails based on these gentlemen's subjective reasoning, if that hurt you financially, meaning you lost sponsors because of that, that's defamation. If it's not true, right? And the things that they said, I could not validate any at all what they said on their podcast through sponsors and other anglers and everything. You have to look at the podcast. You know what? There's two podcasts. So they're there. Doesn't go away. Try and take them down. It's not going to go away. People still have them. So disputes and appeals. The angler was never provided an opportunity to, if a competitor wishes to dispute a rules violation penalty, a judge's scoring decision, a tournament director's decision, or any other action. Well, the action was they banned him and never gave him a hearing, never gave him a dispute process, and never gave him an appeal. They thus violated their own rules. Now, does anybody really care? I don't know. It's up to the anglers to decide whether or not they want to give that trail their money. And maybe they do. And that's their right until it happens to them. This guy's going to go away. This angler's going to go away. He's not going to be able to fish events anymore. Who's going to be the next guy? Who's going to be the next fall guy who outfishes these guys, who creates a team? Let's not mix a little bit. Like let's add the sugar to the lemonade or the iced tea. You know what I'm saying? Like let's get down to tax about the real reasons why this angler was removed. It wasn't because he said stupid stuff on Facebook. We all do. I do. Okay? It wasn't because he called your buddy an asshole. Okay? We've all been called that a time or two. Okay? But it wasn't about conduct. It wasn't. You can grab screenshots of anyone in any scenario and take snippets here and say, oh, this person threatened me or whatever. Okay, people do that stuff. You ever been on some of these fishing groups? This happens all the time, mates. Are you that insecure and that insensitive, or that sensitive, that you would ban someone that's going to create more issues for a trail series? It's just stupid. Don't ban anglers unless they commit fraud or they steal or they cheat. And then you let everybody know. Okay? So everyone says, hey, look, man, we're not going to allow you. We're not going to allow you to register for again, no one has to allow anyone to register for their tournament, club, series, event. Everybody gets that. Okay? But when you do go to the extreme of banning someone and not expecting it to be news or to be covered on social media, it's just not realistic, okay? Because everybody's talking about it. And the only reason I'm talking about it is because everybody else is talking about it. And then this recent thing with the GPS coordinates and of a test event that was done a year ago, why suddenly it's popping up now where people are looking at where fish were caught in a test event. It's just stupid and sketch. Because it didn't need to be done right before a scheduled event on another fishery. Now, was it coincidental? Maybe. I'm just saying that when you're fully transparent, you tell your club membership, you tell all the people that entered that tournament, hey guys, by the way, Fishing Chaos has informed us that we need to clear out some of our archived past events and test events. So we're going to do that, okay, in light of the fact that they need for us to do that. And I know the timing sucks. We've got the event coming up on Saturday. I'm going to handle this process and I'm not fishing the event on Saturday. Very simple. But that's not what happened. Which leaves everything up to question. Okay? And so, again, bans never die. Okay? They always will continue to haunt your trail. If you have you found something raised to the level of why you need to ban someone? It had better be, okay, because you know why? And I'm going to say this, and this is just the reality. Do you know how many convicted felons there are fishing in events? They were convicted in a court of law for whatever reason. Okay? Who knows what the charge was? We still allow them to fish. Okay? And if we're going to allow someone who was convicted of domestic violence, convicted of embezzlement, okay, convicted of whatever the charge may be, to fish in an event, you're going to ban someone because you didn't like what they said? You're going to ban someone because they poked the bear? Because they objected to what you said, what you did, or whatever? You're going to ban someone for that. You got to be bigger than that. You got to be, I say man up. Like, look, people say whatever they want to say about me. That's fine. Like, I don't take it personal. I don't ban them. I don't, whatever. Like, okay. Because 9 times out of 10, when I see that person out, they don't have anything to say to me. They got nothing to say to my face. Nothing. Other than like a wave or a nod. Usually it's a nod. That's it. We don't have to talk. But they're not coming over to me to have a conversation. Because it's all on social media. Because they're keyboards. Sometimes people call me that. Oh, you're just a keyboard warrior. Okay. That doesn't hurt my feelings. You're obviously on the same platform I'm on for you to see what I'm posting or what I'm saying. So you're no different than I am. Like, you may not like my opinion, but that's fine. Got no problem with that. But when you go on social media and you say I'm wrong, that's a little bit different. Then show me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong. Explain to the audience why I'm wrong in my assessment that this angler was never provided a legitimate appeal or dispute mechanism for the ban. Explain to me how your trail didn't violate its own rules. Explain to me how your leadership in its own Facebook posts and its own comments did not violate Rule 16, competitor conduct for KBF. Because you can't. And you keep running away from that's the core issue. The core issue is not whether or not the angler deserved to be banned or not. You already banned him. Now what? What rights does that angler have? You denied that angler those rights based on the rules. You are now. It doesn't matter whether or not you're justified. And I want to point out to my audience, keep in mind KBF, Kayak Bass Fishing, parent organization of all KBF ambassador clubs, which follow KBF rules. KBF has not banned this angler from any of its events. Okay? So think about that for a second. KBF is not even using its own rules to ban this angler. It's just the local regional trail and club. You'd think that if the offense was so egregious that rose to the level of ban and not a suspension, or at least a letter of warning. You ever gotten that at work with your performance, where they give you a letter, say, hey, look, okay? It's kind of a warning shot, like, hey, look, man, if this doesn't improve or if this continues, we're going to have to let you go. Okay? Why didn't they give him a written warning? Suspend him for one event, give him a written warning. Okay, in the next 30 days, if you've made no negative Facebook comments or posts or disparaging remarks or whatever it is, you're allowed to fish the next event out. And then we'll take it on an event-by-event basis for the rest of the season. But if you do make disparaging comments or remarks or defamation or slander against TDs and members or whatever, sponsors or whatever, you will then be banned. They didn't do that. Why didn't they do that? They won't answer that question. A lot of trails won't. Like, it's like, okay, these are easy questions to answer if you're transparent. And that's all anybody wants. That's all I want in our community is transparency. And for the most part, we have it, except for a few areas and people that continue to do these things that just are not in keeping with what the community, in my opinion, is about and what people tell me it's about. Okay? After multiple conversations with very, very smart people, very, very, like Chad Hoover, okay, runs KBF, very, very smart people in terms of the community that have a heck of a lot more depth of knowledge than I do when it comes to these things in terms of DQs at the upper echelons of bass and KBF and Hobie, okay, all these things, okay? I'm not supposing to be 100% the authority on any of this. I'm just saying any reasonable person who reads the rules, and most people don't, so they're not aware of it, it states under Rule 17, this angler has a right to dispute and appeal. They never gave it to him. So on the basis of that, I don't really care. Like, can't tell me I'm wrong because that never happened. Okay? And so the more you keep telling people they're wrong or they're just being sold a bill of goods, it doesn't wash with what the facts are in terms of the rules governing the competition. So bans just need to go away. Okay? No more bans. Cut it out with the banning, especially for personal reasons. No one, look, this personal stuff, it's just got no place, man. Like, no one's asking you to fish with the guy. No one's asking you to launch with the guy. No one's asking you to go to breakfast with the guy. Nobody's asking you to sit next to the guy at the award ceremony. Nobody's asking you to do any of that. Okay? So, the guy said things that you took offense to or hurt your feelings. Okay. Again, doesn't mean you need to do any of those things I just mentioned. He can still fish the event. These lakes are in Lake Champlain. Is enormous. Fish all day and never see him. You could have just said, hey, look, we're going to allow you to fish the event, but you know what? You're not allowed to come to the award ceremony. Okay. The guy can just choose whether or not to accept that or not. I think that would suck, but the guy could say, no thanks, I'm not going to fish your event. Didn't have to ban him. He just banned himself. Very easy ways. Pick up the phone, talk to people, have a beer with people, have a mediator. This is like a marriage gone bad between these guys. These guys fished together on the same team for a year. A year. It's not like they don't know each other. They know each other. This isn't random. There's a lot of history here to unpack. This is like a marriage that's gone bad that's now in separation. If you've ever been divorced, you know what I'm talking about, right? It gets ugly. It gets ugly. Somebody should have stepped in, but they didn't. They fueled it. Okay? No intervention. Other people fueled it and poked the bear. Poked both of them on social media. Friends of this guy, friends of that guy, to create this whole dumpster fire. And that's what it is. So, I'm going to tell you flat out, I'm not going to cover their shit. Okay? I'll make that. I won't cover their shit anymore. Okay? Unless crap like this keeps happening. Like, that's the reality. You don't want me to cover your trail? That's fine. Then don't do stupid shit. Like, don't make any news. Have a great trail. Have a great event. Right? I'll celebrate the winners of your event like I do almost all the events in the region. But don't come at me with your bullshit that like somehow I have it wrong without explaining to me the facts of how I have it wrong. Okay? Like, that's my hot take, mates. Like, seriously, if you're going to tell someone they have it wrong, you better be able to explain to them how they got there, how they got it wrong. Because as it stands right now, according to a recent phone conversation, okay, with another tournament director in another series going through the same exact thing on how to handle. Hey, Jay, how should I handle this so it's above board? Can I get some advice? Yeah, man. Be transparent. Don't run from people questioning you. Be firm. Be upfront. Lead from the front. And don't run from questioning. But that's all what's happened with this. Anytime. Trust me, mates. It's been going on for months. No answers still. This angler still has no idea. Even messaging the leadership, they all block him. That's the other thing. Grow up. Stop blocking people on Facebook so they can't communicate with you after you do something like this. Like, you can make amends. People can actually change. people can actually be sorry for the actions that they took in anger, okay? And learn from them and move forward. And your trail would probably be better. And if you can't do that, then maybe that angler's not the problem. Maybe the problem is actually closer to home. All right, mates, just another hot take. Let's get rid of the bans. We don't need them. Let's keep everything positive going forward. Move forward. Celebrate anglers. If we have anglers that get off track and anglers that, then seriously, get to them. A lot of people deal with a lot of mental health stuff, mates, okay? And sometimes that's where it stems from. So pick up the phone. Go see them. Talk to them at the ramp, okay? Kind of figure out what's going on in their head before you do this whole, banishment thing and then defame people and then keep the narrative running and running and running, okay? No longer, we don't need any more of it in this community. All right, mates, I'll see you on the other side. Get out there and catch some fish.